I never imagined my wedding would become a battlefield. But as I stood in my kitchen, clutching my father's letter, I realized I was being given an ultimatum: invite my sister or watch my parents skip my big day. My hands trembled as I reread the words. How did we get here? Lizzie and I were inseparable as kids. She was the fire to my quiet earth, vibrant, artistic, always dreaming beyond the horizon. I, on the other hand, lived in books, finding comfort, in stories rather than spotlights. We shared everything growing up, from whispered secrets under a blanket fort to grand plans about our future. Our parents, John and Mary, raised us with an unshakable belief: family above all else. Dad, a construction foreman, spent long hours ensuring we had a stable home. Mom, a part-time worker turned full-time caretaker, made sure we never went without. They instilled in us the value of loyalty, the importance of sticking together no matter what. And for most of my life I believed that. Then Lizzie slept with my boyfriend. I met Jake in my sophomore year of college. He was a senior, charming, and intelligent, with a deep appreciation for classic literature that mirrored my own. We spent hours in old bookstores, sipping coffee and debating whether Gatsby was a tragic hero or a fool. He was my first love, the kind that consumes you whole. After graduation, Jake and I moved in together. Our small apartment was filled with love, quiet laughter, and dreams of a future we both wanted. We had our struggles. Money was tight, careers uncertain, but we faced them together. Lizzie, meanwhile, was chasing a different dream. She had chosen art over college, bouncing between jobs while trying to make a name for herself. Our parents disapproved, but I admired her tenacity. She stayed with us often, crashing on our couch, painting at odd hours. She and Jake got along well, maybe too well. They shared a love for indie music, debated art movements, and laughed in a way that felt easy, natural. I never suspected a thing. Then, on a rainy Tuesday in April, everything shattered. I had forgotten some files at home and asked Lizzie to send them over. She agreed, and I thought nothing of it. Hours later, as I checked my inbox, I noticed something strange: an open email thread. Curiosity turned to horror as I read the messages. They weren't just casual exchanges. They were intimate, raw, filled with confessions of stolen kisses, secret rendezvous, and feelings that had spiraled beyond control. My world collapsed. Jake tried to downplay it, calling it a mistake, a moment of weakness. But when I confronted Lizzie, she didn't even deny it. She looked me in the eye and said she had fallen in love with Jake, as if that made it better. I walked away from both of them that night, carrying nothing but my broken heart. Leaving Jake and Lizzie behind should have felt liberating, but in reality, it felt like free-falling with no safety net. The pain wasn't just about losing Jake, it was about losing my belief in the people I loved most. Lizzie had been my best friend, my partner in childhood mischief, the one person I thought would always have my back. But she hadn't. I packed my things and moved out of the apartment I had once called home. For weeks, I crashed on a friend's couch, too numb to do anything beyond going through the motions. Nights were the worst, lying awake, replaying every moment, every conversation, wondering how I had missed the signs. Work became my escape. I took on extra projects, stayed late at the office, anything to keep my mind too busy to dwell on the ache in my chest. My body reflected my turmoil. I lost weight without meaning to, food tasting like ash in my mouth. Sleep became a stranger. I felt like a ghost of the person I used to be. Friends urged me to see a therapist, and eventually I listened. It was slow, agonizing work, unraveling my trust issues, learning how to move forward without carrying bitterness like a shield. But little by little, I rebuilt myself. Then, one afternoon, while volunteering at a local animal shelter, I met Alex. Alex was the kind of man I didn't think existed. Kind, patient, unwavering. He had a quiet strength, the type that didn't need to be loud to be felt. He listened when I spoke, never pushing me for more than I was willing to give. We started as friends. I wasn't ready for anything more, but he stayed, proving through actions, not words, that he was different. Slowly, against all odds, I let myself love again. 2 years into our relationship, Alex proposed. It was a crisp morning on our favorite hiking trail, the world stretching wide around us. He didn't make a grand speech, didn't promise the impossible. He simply said, "I love you, and I want to spend my life with you, no matter where that takes us." For the first time in years, I said yes to a future without fear. Wedding planning should have been joyful, but then my parents dropped a bombshell. "You need to invite Lizzie." I laughed, thinking they were joking. They weren't. "She's still your sister," Dad said firmly. "She made mistakes, but she's family." I felt like I was suffocating. "She slept with my fiancé," I reminded them. "You expect me to celebrate my happiest day with the person who broke me?" Mom sighed. "She regrets it, sweetheart. She's struggling. She needs us." It was then that they gave me the ultimatum. Invite Lizzie, or they wouldn't come either. I was stunned. After everything, they were choosing her. Alex found me later, curled up in bed, shaking with anger and betrayal. He didn't try to fix it. He simply held me, whispering, "We'll figure this out together." And we did. I invited my parents over for dinner. As we ate, I laid everything bare. The sleepless nights, the panic attacks, the way their insistence made me feel like my pain didn't matter. To my surprise, my father went silent. Then, with a heavy sigh, he told me a story I had never heard before, about his own brother who had betrayed him years ago. He had spent decades pretending everything was fine, swallowing his hurt, but it had eaten away at him. He had pushed for me to forgive Lizzie because he didn't want me to carry the same resentment. But as he looked at me across the table, he finally understood. "I can't force you to forgive her," he admitted. "And we'll be there, whether she is or not." Weeks later, an envelope appeared on my doorstep. Lizzie's handwriting was unmistakable. For days, I left it untouched. But Alex, ever my steady force, encouraged me to read it. Lizzie's words were raw, unfiltered. She took full responsibility, offering no excuses. She admitted she had spiraled after Jake left her, drinking, losing jobs, falling into one toxic relationship after another. She had hit rock bottom, and she was finally getting help. She didn't ask for forgiveness. She only wanted me to know she was trying to be better. Something in me shifted, not enough to forget, but maybe enough to listen. We met at a quiet cafe. Seeing her after all these years was surreal. She looked smaller, as if life had carved pieces out of her. Her hands trembled around her coffee cup as she whispered, "I'm so sorry." We talked. We cried. I didn't invite her to the wedding. It was too soon. But I agreed to try, to rebuild, slowly, in small steps. She understood. The wedding was perfect. My parents came, my father walking me down the aisle. Alex looked at me like I was his entire world, and for the first time in years I felt truly whole. Lizzie didn't show up, but she sent a bouquet of sunflowers, my favorite since childhood, with a simple note, "Wishing you happiness. Always." For the first time, I believed she meant it. Months later, we met for coffee again. Our conversations were still careful, but no longer strained. We weren't sisters, like before. Maybe we never would be. But we were something. Healing isn't about erasing the past. It's about learning to live with it, to let it shape you without letting it define you. Lizzie and I are still figuring things out. I don't know if we'll ever be as close as we once were, but for now, I'm at peace with where we stand. And for the first time in a long time, I'm excited for what's ahead. Alex and I are building a life together. We just bought our first house. We're talking about starting a family. Whatever comes next, I know one thing for certain. I'm no longer looking back. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you.